What's that running those guys out there?
About $100,000.
Is it really? 100 grand.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in late. 100 grand for what? A field?
Lease.
A lease?
Membership.
For the lease for the club.
Yeah. How many
to be a member of the club.
Oh my! What's your guys'? Is your guys' season isn't 100 days though? Is it?
No, it's 60.
Oh, whew.
How many gator tags is that coming up?
No, that's just for duck hunting and goose hunting. But that's the least 21,000 acres too.
Oh wow!
How many people are on that 21,000 acres?
I think there's 10 members.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a lot of ground per person.
Can I borrow 100 grand?
Every day we hunt maximum of eight blinds a day, 3 people per blind. So 24 people a day is what we hunt.
Gotcha. So are you leasing that place to guide out of, or is it a personal lease?
No, it's a big farm that leases it all out to one group of guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he guides the members.
And our guy there.
Wow.
A little bit different, but that's some land, man.
21,000 acres. Is it just all rice, or do you have any natural?
It's mostly rice, but there's a couple of marshes on it also.
That is impressive to say the least. I mean, our chunks, when we're talking about big chunks of marsh, we're getting 300 acres. It's like, that's a good chunk of ground.
Yeah. Got 1,000 acres lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're blessed to be able to, I'm blessed to be able to hunt and guide at that place because there's only a couple places like it in the whole state.
Wow. How long have you been out there doing that?
This is my 11th year out there.
Okay, so it's been a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Bill, you got any plans coming back out here anytime soon?
Well, I was going to come back out at the end of our season, but my buddy Alex that I hunt with, he said he's got to start crabbing then, so I don't know if I'm going to make it back there or not this year.
Oh, bummer, man.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening, we have Bill Daniels on the line. He is the owner of Riceland Calls out in Louisiana. So if you're listening, that's who you're listening to. And if you're watching on YouTube, that's who you see on the screen right now. Bill, we're happy to have you and happy to talk to you about, exactly what we're doing right now, the differences in states, your call business. I mean, the 21,000 acres thing just kind of got me baffled right away, but that must be pretty nice to have that much ground at your disposal.
Yeah, it's a special place to be able to hunt. Like I said, there's not many like it in the state.
Do you normally come out to California every year?
I came out there quite a few years in a row. I haven't been back since COVID hit. But before that, I was going every year for about 5 or 6 years, I guess.
Where were you hunting in California?
From Sacramento on north.
Okay. Very nice.
All the way up to Oregon.
None of your business.
Yeah. Did you get the Jeff Smith treatment? Did you take it all of his secret spots?
I did. We hunted together. I actually killed my first big Canada goose sitting next to Jeff.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy.
He probably stole the band off is what happened, and he gave you a goose.
No, I did steal the first one though, because no one told me he never shot a Canada goose before, and
I remember you got greedy.
Yeah. So I was on the end, and like this pair came in, and I was sitting next to Colin. It was like me, Colin, and then Bill, and no one told me. And tour, and Colin's like, "You want to shoot these?" Like, "Yeah, all right." Tutoosh. And Bill's like, and it's like, "Yeah, did you shoot one?" He's like, "No, they shot him." And I was like, "You never shot a goose before?" He's like, "No, I felt like a total tool bag." And then a big group came in, and we actually had a really good hunt. We were up in Lower Klamath, out in the grain fields, right. And then went out in the wetlands the day after that and shot some ducks. So yeah, that was a good time, man.
Yeah, favorite picture I got is me holding those mallards we killed with Mount Shasta in the background.
Yeah, isn't that a cool picture, man? Yeah, we totally. It was a crazy year. It was like when Lower Klamath was kind of open.
It was before the closure, but they didn't have full water, kind of thing.
Yeah, we all got drawn for Tule Lake, and it was so bad. We found a field at LK, and there were some other folks that we knew that were up there. We all geared up and did a big spread in the field. And there was actually a huge group. I don't know if you remember this huge group of juvie snows. I mean, they were like 5 yards off the blind, but you couldn't shoot them because they were closed early in the season.
Yeah.
And it was just like the coolest thing. They came in like right over the layout blinds and kind of just went and did their thing. And then, we shot some Canadas and specs and all that good stuff, man. That was a while ago. I haven't been up to Klamath. I don't think it's been since that hunt we went on, to be honest, because we've had all the droughts and all that.
Do you guys remember what year that was?
Gosh darn.
Oh,
Had to be 17, 16, 17?
17, 18, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say 17 because I think in 18, 19, we went up to Modoc. And I haven't been back to Klamath since, which is extremely sad, but I need to get back up there.
So how did you two get aligned, Bill and Jeff? I mean, I don't know your guys' story of how you two came to know each other.
Mutual friends. You were friends with a friend of mine, Anthony Wallace, and just kind of in the calling industry. You came out here to judge a few contests, so met you that way, just judging. I was more on the duck side, but I would judge on some of the spec stuff when they needed somebody. So I think originally at a calling contest, and then you were coming out here to hunt with a bunch of guys, and just kind of linked up. So, So kind of tell us how the whole calling business started. I mean, I know, it's basically Riceland calls out here or Redbone if you're blowing a spec call. And I would say most everyone is on that, Riceland side of things. So you got a huge following over here in, the Pacific Flyway, and spec hunting for us here in California has just exploded in the last, I would say, 10 years in terms of like guys getting into it, big spreads, learning actually how to blow a spec call correctly. It's not like 15 years ago where if you sounded anything remotely like a spec, the thing was coming in. The game's changed, but kind of talk to us about, how you got started and where you guys are at. I mean, your company has won a ton of championships. You're a championship caller as well. So kind of tell us down kind of where it started.
Well, it all stemmed from contest calling. I met my past business partner, James Myers, through calling contests, and he and I worked together building calls when he had his company, James Myers Custom Calls. He kind of taught me how to make spec calls, and he and I became partners in Riceland. And since then, we parted ways in about, I think it was 2018, he and I split up the business, and he went back to doing his James Myers Custom Calls. And then ultimately he passed away. I think it's almost 2 years now. But that's how I got started, was through contest calling and getting hooked up with James. And it was just an idea that we had to make a little bit of money to be able to go on a hunt somewhere out of town or out of state and make a little extra money. And it's blossomed into a full-time business now.
Yeah, I know you guys are pretty big just from me personally hunting and the guys I hunt with having Ricelands. Just out of curiosity, how many calls are you shipping out, making, let's say in a month or a week? What's your normal?
Depends on what time of year it is. Right now, I'm really busy. I sent out from over the weekend 30 some odd calls yesterday, and I sent out about 20 today. So wow. It's rolling pretty good. Plus, now I have a good bit of stores that I send to, and I'm pretty much busy all year round.
Is that your full-time job right now? Just Riceland?
Yep. That's it's been my full-time job since 2013.
Wow.
And Bill, when you guys first started, were you guys, on the lathe turning every single call, or did you guys kind of find a demo that you liked and then kind of started mass producing those on CNC machines?
We were mostly doing hand turn calls. We did a little bit of acrylic calls.
Okay.
And then since then we blossomed out to poly calls, and most of my stuff is now acrylic calls and Delrin calls. I don't have a whole lot of time to hand turn stuff for the most part. And when I do have time, sometimes I don't feel like hand turning any calls anymore. But it's gotten to be a a full-time deal. It's just me and my wife that work in here.
Oh,
And I got a couple of guys that come help me when I get really far behind. They come help me and get me out of a bind. But for the most part, it's just my wife and I that take care of all of that.
So you guys started on, primarily the goose calls, but was it last year or 2 years ago? Your guys' call won the duck worlds. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it was three years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, Hayden Richard won the World Duck, and then last year he also placed second.
That's phenomenal.
And this year we just had it. I don't know what they were looking for over there this year. It's kind of a strange deal this year, but Hayden came out 10th, I think, this year.
Gotcha. Is there more people starting to run a Riceland in the Main Street calling?
Well, that's kind of that's kind of a specialized deal. We had 5 guys that qualified and blew at Worlds this past weekend, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of the other main names like Echo and R&T didn't have a whole lot more than that.
Wow.
And I mean, it's nothing that I'm going to get rich doing Main Street calls, but we do it because Hayden enjoys it, and he takes one of my duck calls that I made and he modifies them to make them Main Street calls. So he does them all by hand. So
Okay.
It's not something that we're going to sell 1,000 of them, but we do okay, and we got a little bit of a following that use them.
What's the difference in a Main Street call versus a call that you would sell to the average Joe?
Not a whole lot of difference. Hayden just tunes them to get that extra little oomph that the contest callers need. It's really the call is made off of my mid-range duck call that I sell over the counter, with just a few modifications to it to make it more like a race car than a duck call.
Yeah, and I think there's always from a duck hunter standpoint, you get a lot of people like, that doesn't sound like a duck, or that might not sound like a spec when someone's doing a Main Street routine or, doing any type of contest calling. But kind of my thing is I've always told people like, well, if you could do that, you could do the simple things to call a duck correctly. I mean, as a judge, you've judged a ton of these contests. What are you looking for in terms of the sound and what the caller can do with a call to like put them over the top and, to win a contest?
Well, I look for the flow of their routine, whether it makes sense to me, like if everything fits together and sounds good and flows together, something, a note or a sequence of notes are not out of place. I listen for the tone of the call, the speed and cadence that they do, and if they're following the routine that's set for the contest that I'm judging. Main Street's got a specific routine that they're supposed to follow and a specific flow to that contest. The World Spec now has a similar style routine. It's more Main Street spec calling than it is actually spec calling anymore. So that routine's got a specific cadence and flow that it's supposed to follow. When you get into the meat duck and the live duck, not so much a strict routine, but the World Spec and the World Duck are really specific on what everybody's listening, the judges are listening for, trying to pick out the best one. The guys are so good, it's sometimes in the spec, especially, it's hard to find the winner because there's a handful of guys that are really, really good at it.
Yeah, I found that too on the spec calling. It's really hard to kind of narrow it down where, in my opinion, on the duck calling, you could have a guy that really misses a note or a sour note right off the bat, and you're like, boom, you're out. But the spec calling stuff's pretty tough to judge.
Yep.
Did you get into contest calling first and then started making your calls, or was contest calling one of those? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I started calling contests in 1999, I think.
How have you seen it expand since 1999 to what it is now?
As far as spec wise, back in 1999, the spec contests were basically the only one they had that I knew of was over there in California. I think they had it then, but the ones here in Louisiana was in Gaydon, Louisiana, and it used to have 35 people call in it.
Yeah.
But it was more hunters, guides, it wasn't a real structured deal. It was the old hunting club managers from Gate On would judge it. All the guides would call in it. It was more of I don't know, more to see who's the best caller in our area. But now it's progressed to where it's a very set routine that they're looking for, and it just got a whole lot more like I said earlier, like a Main Street spec call versus a hunting style calling.
Do you want to kind of explain, because I know a lot of people listening might not know the difference between like a Main Street versus, an actual hunting situation. If you want to, Jeff, explain what the difference is.
Yeah, so basically, like when people talk about a Main Street, it's duck calling, for example. It's going to be your high balls, coming down, going right back up. So you got those really, really loud hail calls that don't necessarily sound like a duck, and you're just taking that call to its absolute limit as a duck caller, and then they do your comeback calls and your feed calls, and it's kind of a routine, and then you're done, and you have 90 seconds to complete that routine. If you go over that 90 seconds, you're bumped out. Where when people call a live duck, you're trying to sound like the bird, let's say. And then in what people call a meat calling contest, you're in the blind, you're calling at those ducks. So a little bit different, right? You're more of a calling scenario, but you're like going back to the live duck, you're just trying to sound like some live ducks, like on the water, essentially.
Okay.
And there's little routines there, because as a caller, there's only certain times during your routine. I mean, you got to sip for air, because if you don't do it at the right time, you're going to stall and it just doesn't flow real well. And as a judge, you're kind of looking for those things too, like way too long, taking a breath here or, whatnot. So it's, that's kind of it in a calling world. But in my opinion, like if you like to duck call, it's a great way to meet other people who like to duck call, and don't think of it as the best duck hunter is the best duck caller. Cause I've hunted with some people, they could run a call, but they're not.
I mean, I've hunted with you. You're pretty bad. You're a great caller, but
they don't know how to read birds. But I think what was interesting with hunting with you, Bill, the couple of times that we did was you're an extremely accomplished caller, the best one out of everyone probably in the field. But in the field itself, you don't call a whole lot in terms of what I would call, probably because there's other people there. But what's your opinion on, calling in the field, calling too much, not calling enough?
I call as little as possible to get ducks or geese to react.
Yeah.
I don't do hardly any of that contest stuff that they do in a spec contest. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
I do basic stuff and try to get a reaction out of a goose. And once I get that reaction, I do the very minimum I need to do to get him to come close enough to shoot.
Yeah, and that
if you hunt with me, you're not going to hear any fancy nothing, because I don't do it on a duck call. Very short cadences and very little feed, and I'm just very basic when I'm hunting.
Yeah, but even though you can make, or does the sound come off? Even though you can make all the sounds, you don't do it in a hunting scenario where I would say a lot of people that know how to make all those sounds, they see a goose and they're throwing their contest routine in there, and you're like, dude, that's just not working,
And that's one of the reasons why when you call it a goose, now it goes the other direction when you make the first note.
Yeah, I mean, as a guide and a hunter, what are some of the things that, a newer spec hunter or caller should either master or keep in mind when they're out in the field to make them a better hunter?
Spec hunting wise, cover is the main thing. You got to make sure that you're hidden really well where those geese can't figure out where you're at. And once again, my style is to do whatever minimally you can get away with to make the geese react. If that's a 2-note or a 3-note, and that's what they react to, keep doing the same. Keep doing it till you got to change up to do something different. I do Sometimes when there's a decent sized group of geese, I'll do a lot of clucking and try to get them excited and come in. But for the most part, I really do the mimic the goose stuff. I don't do all that other stuff. I kind of mimic what they're doing and throw a few notes in there here and there, but I don't do a lot of calling.
Do you see differences in how folks hunt, say, in California versus Louisiana or other states where you've spec hunted, decoy spread wise, calling wise, number of hunters? I know what's your guys' limit out there on specs?
3.
3. So we're at 10. Specs. So we're at 10. So obviously there's got to be some differences that you've seen in your travels. What are some of those?
Well, my travels in California, the amount of geese that you see in a day is 10 times, 100 times more than what you'll see in a day in Louisiana. And same thing in Arkansas. There's just a tremendous amount of birds. So if you call it you don't get that group to come in. You just wait a few minutes and there'll be another one coming by. Whereas in Louisiana, for the most part, if you get 3 or 4, chances in a morning, that's a pretty good morning. Whereas in Arkansas, you might get 10, 15, 20 chances in a morning. It seems like there's way more birds in both places. Arkansas, like from Arkansas to here, it's like the bird changes its DNA. Up there, they fly in big giant groups, and they're fairly, for the most part, they're workable. When they get down here, some days they're just impossible to even get them to break a wing beat. I mean, they just ignore everything you throw at them, and it's very, very difficult. Louisiana specs has become as far as places I've hunted, are the most difficult specs to kill anywhere I've ever been.
Wow. Do you see differences in decoy spreads from state to state? Like, are you guys running big spreads out in Louisiana, or is it smaller, realistic? What do you guys do out there versus what you've seen out in the other states?
Most people tend to run smaller, 3 dozen or less spreads. Some of the guys now are putting bigger spreads out.
What do you consider bigger?
10, 15 dozen, 20 dozen.
That's a mini California spread. Right.
Yeah. And I was going to say, when I go out there to California, sometimes we put out everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Same thing in Arkansas. They use big full body spreads, or they use a lot of silhouettes and rags and such out there. But yeah, it's different. And most people in Louisiana hunt in pit blind, whereas the other places now they're in it used to be layouts. Now it's panel blinds. Everybody's panel blinds is the world's greatest thing.
Yeah, the big group hunt, right? Do you think too? Like Louisiana was always kind of the spec place, right? So I mean, all the calls that I would say, what was it? The Cheyenne? How do you pronounce it? The Cheyenne Kelly.
Kai.
Yeah, so that was in like the Cabela's magazine when I was a little kid. That was like the only spec call, and there was when I grew up, like there was a short window where you could shoot like 1 spec, and now you could shoot 10. Do you think it's because you guys have hunted them a lot longer than some of the other states in terms of like population size? Is that another reason why it might be harder down there, or is it just because you're ending the flyway? They're there,
The flyway has changed, the migration has changed, and the amount of specs that come down here is not what it used to be.
Okay, short stopping.
They're all stopping in Arkansas.
Gotcha, makes sense.
And then the habitat down here has been shrunk to such a small area, and the amount of geese is less, and the amount of people hunting in that small area is more. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure along where I live. Southwest Louisiana, along the I-10 corridor and south, there's just a tremendous amount of pressure on the birds. And like I said, there's fewer birds, more pressure, better callers, better decoys. It's just a whole combination of things.
What happened to a lot of that habitat?
Crawfish, sugarcane, farmers going under, not planting the rice acres that they used to plant in years past.
So what, like crawfish farms?
Yep. Yep. And crawfish is done during the wintertime, so there's crawfish boats and crawfish farmers running the geese out of the fields, and they flood the water deep where birds don't like it, and it just a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing more snow geese in your area recently?
Not more, no. We actually get less of them also.
Really? Yeah, we're seeing, it seems like every year more and more snow geese, and we still see plenty of specks, but it's just like a lot of people are transitioning out here from their field hunting from, specks to big snow goose spreads now, and it's becoming a little more well known now.
Yeah, I mean, you'll shoot the specks in the big snow spreads, especially like the larger full body spreads.
But I'd say, people are targeting those snows almost more than they're targeting specks nowadays in the Sacramento Valley. Yeah,
I mean, the speck, in my opinion, they're not the same bird that we were hunting, 10 years ago. They're a lot harder to consistently decoy, because every single person has a spec call, and a lot of them are a lot better callers than they used to be, and you shoot 10 of them. So the pressure is
the incentives there to learn how to hunt them well.
The pressure has gone up,
Did you go out and hunt anytime this week by chance? Or what's your season? Are you guys started or ended?
It's hunting every day.
No, I hunt every day. Our season goes into the split on Sunday.
Oh, so you guys have a split.
For how long? How long is the split?
Two splits.
This one's 9 days, I think.
Okay.
It opens again. It closes Sunday and it opens again on the following Monday.
So I've never hunted a split. Do you think that 9 days actually makes a difference in the birds and their wariness, or what's nothing?
No.
So in your opinion, what's the goal of a split? Just to let people hunt later? I mean,
well, we used to have a 2-week split, and we only had one throughout the season. Now we have two, and this year for some reason it's only a week, and then a week later on. So I don't really know what good it's going to do.
So you personally would rather have just 1 2-week split in the middle?
Yeah. Huh. That's how it's always been. But the powers that be around here like to change the seasons every year for some reason, and I don't understand it. I just hunt when they tell me I can hunt.
Yeah, me too. So, Bill, tell us some stories. I know you went over to Russia and shot some birds over there. Tell us about that excursion.
That was different. I took my ex-business partner, James Myers, and a couple other buddies of mine. We got on a plane and flew to Moscow, Russia. And the only thing I knew about going there was what I talked to my dealer that I have in Russia on Facebook. I've never met him in person or nothing, just through Facebook. And we flew over there to meet him without knowing where we were going and what we were doing.
No way.
We got to the Moscow airport and there was nobody there to pick us up.
Oh my God.
Just been bamboozled.
So all my buddies are looking at me like, what the hell are we doing over here? Who's coming to get us? What's going on? I said, man, I don't have any idea. So let me try and find out. So my guy, Igor, he went to the wrong airport.
Oh my God.
And going to the wrong airport in Russia is about a 2-hour trip, evidently, because he didn't get there till 2 hours after he was supposed to get there.
Oh my God.
And we're all sitting on the floor in the Russian airport wondering what's going on. How are we going to get out of here?
What year was this?
2011.
Wow. So once he came and got you, what was the experience like?
Well, we loaded everything up into a van and stuffed all our gear in a van, and we took off down the road. And I rode with him in a car in front of the van, and for some reason we got farther ahead than the van that was following us, and they ended up having a flat. We had to turn around in a pea soup fog and try to find that van on the side of the road to help get them with a tire. Well, the rental van guy didn't have a spare tire. So we had to unload all that stuff and cram it into two other vehicles to get to where we were supposed to go hunting that night. And we got there about, I don't know, must have been 1 o'clock in the morning. They had a full dinner waiting for us. We were supposed to be there hours before. They had a full dinner waiting for us. We had to eat dinner. We ate dinner and drank vodka till I don't know what time in the morning, and then got up to go.
That's wild. What kind of birds were you shooting over there?
We went to go shoot specks, and we tried to do a duck hunt. We actually did a duck hunt with live ducks for decoys.
No way.
Nice.
Yeah, the guys that have those live ducks, they're very serious about it, and they love their ducks like pets. The guy had the ducks in little wooden boxes and had their names engraved on the boxes, and had each duck had their own box.
The box is floating like away from the blind, and then they get up on the box, or how does that whole thing work?
They have a round piece of styrofoam with a stick sticking in it.
Okay.
And on the duck's leg, he's got a band on his leg with a cord, and they stick that stick on that styrofoam deal through the cord, and they tie the duck to that stand.
Okay.
They push it flush with the water, and the duck jumps up on there and goes to quacking.
And did it work?
No, because there was no duck.
So they still didn't come in.
The thing about Russian hunting in Russia, they have a spring season, and it starts. I think it starts in March or April, and like every 10 days, it moves up further north in Russia. The seasons.
Okay.
So if you don't hit the migration at the right time in the right place, you might not get anything.
Gotcha.
And we just didn't hit it at the right place.
Did you get the specs though, or not
No,
those either?
we only killed a handful of specks while we were there. But we would call them at the camp. We'd call them when they'd come over to the camp and get them to circle around the camp. And every time we do that, the Russians would come running out of the camp with the guns like that.
So you guys just missed the migration totally, or just it's hunting?
Yeah,
and they weren't there?
we missed it. We didn't have much of a hunt as far as specks and ducks were concerned. I think we ended up killing maybe 5 specks and one duck.
What was the bird that you shot in the tree?
That's called a capercaillie. Yeah. It's a wood grouse. I think it's the world's biggest grouse.
Did you have to sleep there overnight or something like that?
Yeah, that's my favorite. Still to this day, my favorite hunt I've ever been on.
So go into the details of that one.
Well, they woke me up at midnight. My buddy, one of the Russians that run the hunting camp, he comes, knocks on the door, and he says, "Bill, let's go." And he takes me out, puts me in a car with his driver.
Gonna go meet Vladimir.
That's exactly what I went and met. And he takes me in his car driving who knows where in Russia at midnight. So all my other buddies are sleeping, so they have no idea where I'm at.
They only took you?
They're in bed.
Oh, my goodness.
So
where's Bill?
Russia. Yeah, they could have easily got me, and nobody would ever know where I ended up. But anyway, we drive for an hour and a half away from camp, pull off the side of the road, and this van, like a Volkswagen bus-looking van, but it's like an old Army vehicle, four-wheel drive-looking van, pulls up behind us, and 3 Russians get out of the van. I'm thinking, what's going to happen here?
Are you Bill Daniels from Louisiana?
None of them speak English, and I sure don't speak Russian. So they're talking, so they point for me to get in the van. So I get in the van, and we drive some more and go to this great big giant woods, and we take off walking. And we must have walked, I don't know, 3 miles. We walked for probably over an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2. I don't know. We walked forever. It seemed like. In the middle of the walk, I had to tell that old guide, I said, "Hey, take a time out, smoke or something. I need a break." Because they were walking me to death. I'm not in the greatest shape in the world. So they were walking me all over. So we ended up going in this big woods, and the one guy tells me that I'm going to go with the other guy. But we start walking in the woods. It's pitch black dark. It's not even near daylight yet. We're walking in these big woods, and about every 100 yards, that guy stops, and he just looking around and listening, and he hears something and he points. I'm like, I don't know what he's listening. I don't know what he's hearing. And we walk a little bit further, and he points again, and this time I can hear that bird. It makes the craziest sound. It like clicks. It goes click, 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 chicka, 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 chicka. And when it's doing that click, 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 you got to time it just right. Whenever he gets to the 3 clicks out, you can take a couple of steps. That bird can't hear and can't see when he's making that other part of his song. So you sneak up in the woods till you get close enough to that bird in the tree, and you wait for daylight to come, and you get him, shoot him out of the tree.
Oh my God! And how big is this bird?
Like a hen turkey.
Wow.
Yeah, like a hen turkey. But the first one we snuck up on, either me or the guy had stepped on a stick and cracked the stick, and we busted it out of the tree, and we had to go look for another one. When he finally got me up on one, he tells me to shoot. Well, I don't know what kind of gun I got. I don't know what size shell I got. I don't know nothing. He's just telling me to shoot. So I shot at it, and I thought it was kind of far, and I missed. I either missed because I missed, or I missed because it was too far. I don't know. But anyway, I walked all that way, and I missed the bird I went all the way to Russia to shoot. And that was supposed to be the only day that I was going to be able to hunt that bird. So I was mad that I missed. And we're walking back to the truck, and my other buddy Igor calls me and asks me if I want to hunt them birds again the next day. And I said, heck yeah, I want to go again. So the next day we did the same deal. And this time the guy got me within 100 yards, and he points to me for me to go. So I got to sneak up as close as I wanted to shoot it. So I snuck up on that one that morning to within about 25 yards or 30 yards. And he was up in the top of the tree. And it was so dark, when I'd aim at him, I couldn't see the end of the gun. So I had to sit there and listen to him do that song for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes before I could actually see to shoot him. And when I did shoot him, he got stuck in the dang tree at the top. And I'm looking at him like, oh, crap, how am I going to get that thing out of there? And then he flopped and he fell to the ground. And when I brought him back to my buddy, they were so excited. They thought that was the greatest thing ever that I killed that bird. They were more excited than I was, and I was pretty excited.
Yeah.
They brought me back to camp. We drank vodka. They said it's a tradition to drink vodka in a big water glass. All the way to the top. I said, y'all messing with me. Y'all just want to see me get drunk. I said, no, Bill, Russian tradition. You must drink after you kill Big Bird. I said, okay, I'm going to drink that. I'm going to bed. So I drank the vodka and I took off and went to bed. But it's still, that was one of the funnest hunts I ever went on.
That is wild.
Isn't that crazy? You didn't bring your gun with you, right? You just went over there and borrowed stuff?
No, we didn't bring anything but our bags and our clothes.
What was the process of getting in? Like hunting license? Did you guys have to go through a process to get there, or was it just plane and go?
To go to Russia, you got to get a visa.
Okay.
And that's quite a deal. You had to get a company to get the visa for you. And when you go to a hotel over there, you got to show them your visa, your passport, and they fill out paperwork, and you got to keep all that with you while you're there, and you got to have all that when you leave. And if you don't have it all in order, I don't think they let you leave. It was interesting. Everything's pretty regimented over there as far as paperwork.
Wow, it's wild.
But the people over there, everybody don't like Russian, but the people over there were some of the finest people I've ever met. They just like us. They like to hunt, fish, drink, barbecue, all that same stuff that we do down here in Louisiana. 4 of them actually came here the following year and hunted with us here in Louisiana.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they had a great time while they were here too.
That's awesome. We still haven't came down to shoot an alligator with you guys. So we'll need to put that one on the books.
I told you all to come.
I know it.
I've been telling Dane and them to come hunt teal too for teal season, and they don't ever come in.
I know it. We'll need to get the group together. Get down there.
Yeah.
Bill, I mean, what's your thought? You've hunted all over the place. I've hunted specs for a long time. You know, what do you think the biggest difference is? You know, hunting a spec in California versus hunting a spec in Louisiana, and the biggest difference of like what hunters do differently. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, when I first started hunting with y'all in California, it was different for me to put the decoys in front. Here, most of the time we put them in the back, like upwind.
Okay.
So come over, because we hunt in pit blind.
Yeah.
I'd never hunted in much in layout blinds or panel blinds, but we hunt mostly in pit blinds. So we try to get everything to come over the top.
Yeah, get over that check, right?
When we're coming over the top. So that was different, putting all the decoys in the front. Now I do that sometimes here, but Arkansas does similar thing, puts the decoys in the front, y'all use big spreads compared to here. Callings probably, I mean, it's pretty much the same deal here and everywhere else.
What about access down there? I mean, you hunted Klamath up here, and you can see how big it is. What's the public access like in Louisiana?
We have a few on the area that I live. There's one refuge or a couple of refuges that you can go hunt ducks, but there's not very many places public that you can go kill a bunch of specs.
Yeah.
Most everything is leased up either by individuals or guide services. And most everything is little small, 100 acres, 300 acre farms, not anything big like where I happen to guide.
Yeah, I mean, the acreage is huge, right? That's why you guys are probably so successful. You're able to manage the pressure.
And our southern border is one of the main refuges in our area too.
Yeah,
so that doesn't hurt.
That's what's hard sometimes up here and where we're at is, you might have a duck blind, but you might only have, 120 acres and it's flooded and that's the only place you can go. It
seems like nowadays they're putting blinds on every rice check. You get 60 acres if you're lucky and you're staring at the guy across from you, both shooting nothing.
Yeah, that's where it's hard about pressure, right? And how birds are getting smarter. If everyone's out hunting and there's blinds everywhere, it makes it pretty tough.
Yeah. Same thing here. There's fields are leased. Once you get off of our farm, everything's leased up. For 100 miles, everything, every little farm pretty much got some or near it. And not a lot of places for them to rest.
No, and I don't think people realize how much pressure is put on birds and how they react differently. Where when you do go to other places and there's not as much pressure, you get those working birds and it's enjoyable. But if you're in an area where there's tons of blinds everywhere and everyone's hunting all the time, it could be extremely hard to.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I know Bill's got a drought going on there, but we're dealing with kind of the opposite with everybody has water, everybody has rice. And the word on the street right now, we're sitting here in almost December, late November, is birds are spread out. They're where they can get chasing fresh water and places they historically should be loaded up right now. They're not. So it's just, that's the thing that everybody loves about hunting. Year after year, it's different. You're not going to get the same thing every year.
Yeah, it does.
That's right.
It does change. I mean, gosh, drastically from year to year.
We used to kill a fair bit of mallards in Louisiana back when I was younger, and I guess up into the early 2000s maybe. And the ones that do come here now, they're like 200-inch whitetail. They sit in the refuge in the daylight, and they leave there in the dark and come out and feed at night, and they're back in there before daylight.
Yeah.
And you never even know that there's any around.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting ducks, what kind of species are you shooting?
For the most part, teal, pintails, a few grays, some spoonies, widgeon. Every now and again, when the weather's right or the conditions are right, we get a fair amount of mallard sometimes, but for the most part, teal and pintails is our two main ducks. And shooting only one pintail limit, it kind of makes it tough.
Hey, we're the same way out here.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I've seen them out there too. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, Bill, we appreciate you coming on today, and man, it's fun to kind of catch up, and good seeing you. And thank you so much for coming up on the podcast today, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll have to get you out here again here sometime soon.
Yes, sir. I'm trying my best to get back out there this year. Hopefully, I can make it work.
Good. Well, let us know, man, and put everyone back together. We'll have to do a hunt.
That'll work.
All right, Bill. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.